Hello, everybody. This is Danielle Stewart, your candidate for mayor of Beckley in 2020, and welcome to this edition of Ask Danielle. And as you can see, we've kind of changed up the scenery just a little bit. Today we are outside. You know, I don't know if you all are kind of like me and tired of being cooped up indoors all the time, especially with all the rain. I was like, this beautiful weather, I want to be outside in it. So I'm glad you all could join me outside as we go through all this. And again, also thank you for coming now. You know, normally I do these at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, but we moved it to 7:30 because there was a city council meeting at 6:30. And so I'm doing something real quick. Share watch party, and this thing's supposed to be all the way down. We're doing something different with the technology. And so, you know, if you'll bear with me for just a second, I thought we had everything straight. I don't know whether we do or not. Technology is a wonderful thing, but, you know, it changes so fast it's hard to keep up with. So again, though, welcome, and 7:30, normally we do these at 7, but 7:30 because of City Hall or the City Council meeting. Oh, yes, if you were out there and we'd like to encourage you to start a watch party on your own Facebook pages. Now, so that it'll help spread the message and the things that I talk about. I would really appreciate it if you would do that. So, so back to the City Council again. So we had the City Council meeting, and they talked about the agreement with the Solid Waste Authority and then the ballot issue, and that's kind of why we're a little different today on the time. I do have a question from last week that I want to address for. My video director is giving me directions. I must wait. So, how's everybody doing with the virus? As you can see, I am, outdoors, and we've been doing a lot trying to isolate ourselves, but still get outside. We're working on a garden, which has been problematic because of the drainage. We're holding a whole lot of water. City Council. Talk about the City Council now? Okay. Yes, as you can tell, these are not scripted. We just kind of go with it as they go. So I appreciate y'all staying with me. But yeah, I just wanted to repeat again about, we were a little later today. Normally we do these at 7, but we're doing 7:30 today because of the City Council meeting. I've been attending the City Council meetings for probably the last 3 years. Because I think it's part of my duties to keep track of what's going on in the city, whether I'm elected or not. And so, I wanted to make sure that I sat in on this one and could hear what was going on. Like I say, the two biggest things were the agreement with the Raleigh County Solid Waste Authority and then the issue with the ballots. And the issue with the ballots, there was an individual living in the city. However, she did not get, when her ballot came, she did not have the city officials on that ballot. My inclination is that she probably lived outside the city at the last election, and then the county didn't get the updated information. But if that happens to you and you're living within the city limits and you need help with that, you don't get it, feel free to contact us, and we will help you track down what that issue is. In addition, you can contact the Raleigh County Clerk's Office, the election section directly, and they should be able to help you as well. And again, wanted to say, if you don't mind, feel free to start a watch party of this video, so we can help spread the message as we go through. Okay, so now moving on. I had one question from last week that came in right at the end, and I wasn't able to answer that. And this question came to talk about the mill, the General Beckley Mill site on Piney Creek. As you all may be aware, I was the executive director for Piney Creek Watershed Association for almost 4 years, and worked with the city and the state and private individuals to do some kind of development down at the Beckley Mill site. Worked with the Raleigh County Historical Society, was able to get an official road marker talking about the site. But we had bigger dreams as we were going through that. We had We had dreams of a welcome center to welcome people coming off of the interstate, and then as well as a trail, handicap accessible trail as well as much as possible, going down to the mill site as well. So the people can kind of see the history, because when you really talk, we have the Wildwood House, and that was the first house. When we talk about how Beckley developed, though, the mill site was one of the most important things that we had, because the mill site is where they brought their wheat to be ground down into flour. And so that's why you'll see a lot of mills around here. I think Spangler Mill on Piney Creek up around Fitzpatrick was one of them as well. But it's a great historical thing that I think in Beckley we should honor. And, as best as I can with limitations, because it's just a reality, is that the old city dump is that site. We did do an EPA evaluation. It came back that there were possible issues. We thought we had a plan for working around the issues, and then things kind of dropped off. So it's something I will continue to look at, because I think one of my guiding philosophies is creating a city that we want to live in. When we talk about tourism and how do we attract tourists and stuff like that, the biggest thing I found when it comes to city planning and design is create a city where people just want to live. And if we create a city where we want to live, people will come, because they'll want to be a part of that. And that means lots of parks, lots of green spaces, and events, entertainment. And I think that's something we can do, and that's one of my guiding philosophies that I will bring with me as mayor. Let's see, ballot, voting info. Just want to remind everybody that the last day to register to vote is May 19th. And if you did not receive a absentee ballot application, you can register online at the Secretary of State's site. Also, if you did not receive an absentee ballot application, you can also pull that down off of the Secretary of State's website and send that in. Early voting will be May 27th to June 6th, and that'll be on the second floor of the Raleigh County Courthouse. They will have measures in place to ensure people are protected while they're voting, but they are recommending as many people as possible to do the absentee ballot, just because it is safer for everybody. And then, of course, the last day for your absentee ballot application is June 3rd. And then the last day to turn in your absentee ballot is the day of the election, June 9th. Though I would recommend doing it before then. And then the election itself, again, is June 9th. So I wanted to give you that voting information. Let's see. And one of the things I was supposed to put out at the beginning, if you have any questions as we're going through here, whether it's about our topic of the night or whether it's anything at all to do with the campaign, you can feel free to send the campaign a direct message, and we will try to get it up here and get it answered, or you can comment on the comment sections. If you think of a question that you want to ask, you can also email me, email the campaign. It's a Danielle Stewart number 4. Oh, wait, yeah, it's all right here. Yes, which is the whole purpose of having this. So, right here's our contact information. You can call. I've had 2 phone calls so far, and a couple of emails. And so I encourage you to reach out to me. This is kind of an odd year with the voting, with the pandemic, and a little harder for candidates to get out and meet people. And so I want to be as open and as available as I can. So feel free to contact me. I would love to talk to you about Beckley and about what things I think that we can do to make Beckley better for all of us. So tonight's topic is very, believe it or not, is super, super sensitive. And this is downtown parking. Being parking, you don't think people would have so many emotions wrapped up in it. But people are angry, continue to get angry about the parking situation downtown. And it is a difficult balancing act. But it's something that we have to address. I know one of the biggest things that I've heard from people is the general lack of free parking downtown. And so, and especially at the Word Park parking area, because so many underprivileged people have to go into the DHHR building, and they're having to pay to park to go in. I mean, these are people that are going to DHHR to get help, and we're still trying to suck money away from them. And so, so free parking in general is an issue. There are people with issues with the parking meters, and finding the right balance between the parking meters and free parking is another issue. And so I've worked on a little bit of a plan. Part of that incorporates the plan that came from the 2014 Beckley Comprehensive Plan. A couple of things are ideas that I've had that I would like to look into, as well as some of the changes that I would like to make. So the first is, I got to say, and I know this is going to make people unhappy. However, I do think that we have to keep the parking meters at the parking spaces that are along the roads on Prince Street, Main Street, Neville Street, Heber Street, and South Fett Street. I think there's some on McCreary. And it's not because we don't want to encourage people to come up and to do things in the city. It's primarily because if we do that, people who work downtown will come and take all those parking spots, and you still don't have any parking spots because everything's taken. And so, as challenging as it is, that is one place that I think that we definitely need to keep the meters. However, overall, the city of Beckley has like 612 parking spaces everywhere. And going kind of back to the free parking, we used to have 1 hour free parking on the top of the Beckley Intermodal Gateway. But now that the police station is there, they've decided to make that into paid parking as well. One of the things that I will look into and that I really want to do is return that back to free parking so that people can go in there, people want to visit downtown, have a free place to park. And while I'm on free parking, not a lot of people know because the city doesn't advertise it, there's no signs. All metered parking is free downtown from 11:30 to 1:30 every weekday, and then definitely after 6 and maybe after 5 on the weekdays as well. And the purpose of that was to hopefully bring people downtown for lunch and things of that nature. So we do have free parking during certain times, even if it's not necessarily advertised. But like I say, we got 612 parking places right now. And if you talk to people, that's not enough. Especially the downtown business owners really wish that we had more parking. It did come out of the Beckley Comprehensive Plan that we need more parking. I think the downtown Beckley business assessment that was done last year also mentioned parking as an issue. Like I said, there's 612 places, and when I go downtown, there's not a whole lot of the city parking places that are full. But I would say the city probably has half of the parking spaces downtown. The remainder are either belong to the county or to private lots and stuff. So, but the reality is, if we're going to build Beckley downtown, we have to build it for the downtown we want and not necessarily for the one that we have. So expanding parking is one of the things that everybody keeps telling us is something that we have to do. So the city is already doing one lot, the old Burleson building, and then there was a building beside that got tore down. That was part of the 2014 Beckley Comprehensive Plan to put additional parking there. And so the buildings one building is tore down. I'm not sure the second building is tore down yet, but that will be paved. We'll see how many parking spaces that we get out of that. The second area that was identified for additional parking was on Prince Street, behind the Roche Lab building, kind of between, Heber and Piney Avenue. And so right now, the city owns part of that, and then there's 2 or 3 other parts that are privately owned. And what I would like to see is the city try to work with those landowners to either purchase or lease that property and create additional free parking there to support additional parking downtown. But as I mentioned earlier, although there's 612 city parking places, there's lots of other private and county parking spaces. Now, we may not be able to get a use the county parking spaces because they're mostly used. We can use, there is an option that I would like to see, and that is looking at leasing some of the parking that's available there. We had the old Chase Bank, the old Beckley National Bank building that's recently been vacated. All those parking spots are empty. Maybe that's an area the city should look at just until they sell the building, is leasing that parking lot for free parking. We also have the First Baptist Church downtown. They use the parking. They have a pretty large parking area, and I think that we could probably come to some kind of arrangement with them where we'll maintain the parking lot if they let us use those parking spaces. The city uses parking spaces during the day, and options like that. And there are several other places that I identified. I did a position paper on this. It's position paper number 10. And if you go to my website, DanielleStewartForBeckley.com, under platform, you will find that information. And again, that's here, as I was just reminded, if you need the information. Like I say, position paper number 10, I've got 9 others talking about various things as we go through. But in the short midterm, I really think that's how we address the parking. I think there's an opportunity to have more free parking, definitely, than what we have. I do think we have to keep the metered parking along the roads, but other than that, everything else is kind of a little negotiable. And, which was another thing. So we talked about, I would like to have a system where people can validate parking. So let's say you're going up to Tickety Boo, and Tickety Boo can give you a if you go in there and you purchase something, Tickety Boo will give you a credit or a voucher for something to pay for that parking. So to help encourage people to go downtown. Validating parking, that's what it, to validate the parking. You went there, you bought something, well, hey, let's not pay for parking, as a way to encourage people to go downtown. Kind of hard to do with some of the meters, but I really think that's something that we could do and look at as we go through. It's going to take some creativity because it may be something where Tickety Boo keeps a log, or whatever downtown business is using Tickety Boo, just because I get a lot of stuff from there. I like old stuff. Or wait, not traditional. What's it called? Not historical. Get tongue-tied as I do these. It'll come to me about 2 minutes from now. So antique. Yes, that was the word. I had help. I couldn't remember that myself. So that's my plan for downtown parking. I think it's a good plan. One of the interesting things about the parking is the city has a parking commission. The parking commission is composed of the mayor and every city council member. So it's really kind of interesting. I would like to know the story behind that. And I don't have that answer right now myself. It's something I've always been interested in. A lot of money comes through the parking. I won't say a lot of money. I think $40,000 a year is what they make off of it after expenses. But the parking, working through the parking commission, allows the city to purchase buildings easier than if the city was going to purchase buildings. I think is how that works. But I'll find out more about that because I'm curious myself. So at this point, I'm going to open up kind of to any questions that we have out there. Hopefully I can answer anything that you have. Do we have any questions?
Tracy. She says, if the city is not fully open by the time you would take office this pandemic, what would be the first step to prevent the spread of the coronavirus?
Well, I think one of the things that we have to have, and businesses have to have, is a detailed plan to protect their employees and to protect their customers. And there's several things out there that are kind of in action now, which is everybody must wear a mask if you're in the store. Only so many people are allowed in the store per 1,000 square feet, 500 square feet. And, so that's something I think that even as we open back up, that we have to continue for a little while, just so that we don't, think we got everything cleared up and boom, here's the second wave and we're worse off than we were the first time around. And, if we're smart about how we do it, and I think that we will be, as we go through, and that'll be one of the things that I work with is with the businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, the health department, making sure that we have the right procedures and guidance in place for our businesses to protect everybody. And I've been really impressed with a lot of businesses out there. If you've been to Food Lion, they have plexiglass now to protect their workers. As you're going through, they wipe down the handles. Go through McDonald's drive-through, and they've got plexiglass there, so it's now a real small slit in order just to pass stuff through, again, protecting you and protecting them. And I think it's one of the things I see a lot with the masks, because unfortunately I don't see a lot of masks out in Beckley. And people don't understand it's not just to protect you from others, it's also to protect others from you. Because this thing has like 14 days that you don't have any symptoms, but you're still able to spread the disease. And so, it's doing common sense, smart things that aren't that hard that's really going to pull us through this. Any other questions?
What do you think about the governor's plan?
I do think that it is too soon. I looked at the plan a little bit more in depth, and it's definitely ambitious. And I don't think that we are able to test sufficiently to get the numbers that he's looking for. I think that's easy numbers to fudge, and to say. And the bottom line is we still don't have the testing capability to test everybody to know. We don't have the tracking in place. So I don't think we're quite as ready as the governor would like to think that we are. But again, that kind of goes back to my first thing. If as individuals we are smart about it, things are a little less risky. So if you need to get your hair done, you wait in the car until it's your turn. They call you, you go in, gives them time to sanitize from the previous person. You wear a mask, they wear a mask. I don't know how to give you a haircut if you're wearing a mask, but that could be a little more challenging. But I think there are procedures that will come out that will allow that, but I definitely think that we're too soon. Probably anywhere from 2 weeks to a month too soon.
Melanie asks, possible to send out a list of common sense things and instructions to citizens?
Absolutely. I think that is a great thing. That's, when it goes back to some of my issues with the city in general is, in government in general.
And I will say she added a comment afterwards. A lot of people don't know how to properly use things such as masks and gloves.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
And so that is something that I think that the city should have done as a protective measure, was put together this list. It costs about $4,000 to mail to everybody within the city, but we could have done that with all of these protective measures, because the reality is not everybody has the internet. Not everybody can call and get through to the health department and ask those kind of questions. And so absolutely that is something that should have been done that hasn't been done, whether that's from the state level or whether that's from the county or whether that's from the city. But it's getting the information flow here is just not good. And so anything we can do to improve it, and that's definitely something I think we could do to get that kind of safety information out.
What can you tell us about the Burleson building?
The Burleson building. So the Burleson building, and I mentioned it earlier, that was torn down recently as part of creating additional parking downtown. It was part of the Beckley Comprehensive Plan in 2014, so we're getting last year, so 5 years into the plan, and we're getting that. And I tell you, I got little issues with it because we have this building that's falling down. It was foreclosed on. It was bank owned, that nobody will ever do anything with, and we paid $111,000 for it. We paid $111,000 for it. Then we spent $49,000 to pay to have it torn down. So now we're $160,000 into parking spaces. Needed more parking, so we bought the building next door, $55,000 for that. So now we're at 210,000 for these parking spaces. My analysis as I've went through, and I've asked a couple of professionals to weigh in on it, and they estimate anywhere between 24 to 30 spaces is all you're going to be able to get out of those locations, which is nice spaces. But when you start breaking it down, we paid $10,000 for a parking space, per parking space. And that's not including the other stuff that's coming down about actually having to pave it and the stormwater, painting, and all the stuff that still has to go with it. So, you know, we have to be smart with the money. And I'm not for sure that I would classify the purchase of the Burleson building at $111,000 as the best use of that money. I think there were other things that we could have done, especially for that money. I mean, it blows my mind to think, that goes through my head, $10,000 per parking space, you know, especially in this area when we need so much money for so many other things. So that's my thought on the Burleson building. It is good that we're getting more downtown parking, but yeah, $10,000 per parking space.
So Brandy says, I may be out of the loop, but I have personally felt the city has been quiet throughout the pandemic. What methods would you use to get information to people within the city? And she said, you kind of just answered me, but is there anything that you wanted to add besides what you've already said?
Well, one of the things is, so the city is every once in a while putting out information through the City of Beckley Facebook page, videos, live videos talking about some of the issues. But for the most part, we're feeling the pain of not having systems in place before this. Whether it's the city council meetings, whether it's the pandemic information, we don't have solid systems to get information out. The way things operate in Beckley is if you want the information, you have to go find it. Nothing is pushed to you. My cat just ran by like 1,000 miles an hour because the neighbor's giving her treat. Sorry about that disruption. But because that has been an issue, now that we have information that we need to push out, we don't have the systems in place. We haven't thought through how to do it, and so we're scrambling. I think that the city should be live on video every day, kind of telling people what's going on, to help people feel confident, reinforcing the protective measures and the things that are going on, even if it's 15 minutes. Again, we talked about mailing things out. I think that is a great idea to get everything out to people, because people don't know and they're scared. And most fear is the fear of the unknown. And so if anything we can do as a city to get information out to help people know what's going on and not be as scared, we need to do it. One of the things I talk about in my first papers on transparency is using the city police substations as city outreach offices. Another way that I think that if we manned those, we had people in there, citizens could go and find out good information from there. But yeah, the information flow within the city, county, state really is not as good as it needs to be. And I think this pandemic is really showing where those weaknesses are at. All right. I was told no more questions. I took that note myself. I had that one. So I would like to invite everybody Thursday at 8:30. I will be talking with Democratic governor candidate Stephen Smith. We'll be talking about 30 to 45 minutes, 8:30 to around 9:15. And that will be broadcast over his Facebook page, which is facebook.com/West Virginia Can't Wait. We will also share that to this page here. That's my alarm to take the trash out. And we will also then share that and do a watch party on this page, the Danielle Stewart for Mayor page. If you got anything you'd like me to ask Stephen, feel free to send me some questions. I have some things that I'm sending to him to ask me. But it's a good opportunity to take a look at other candidates that are running for other races within the state. So I hope you'll join me for that. And then, obviously, or maybe I shouldn't say obviously, but next week we will do another Ask Danielle session. This will be next Thursday next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Same site, and I hope you all will be able to join me then. We'll publish the position paper on Monday. I haven't decided exactly. I haven't finished writing some of them, so I've still got a little bit more research I needed to do. I'm hoping to talk about housing. Housing is a really touchy issue with me because I have to kind of do it in bites because I get frustrated with how things are. But if not, we'll have another topic out. Keep checking back with this page, and we will have information out as we can. So that's all that I have. I appreciate you stopping by. Please remember to take care of yourself. Please take time to take care of your neighbors, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.